Okay, I can see you guys now. Hello, everyone. Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Brown. Good evening, Bhimrao. Kulkarni. Good evening, Shai. Good evening, Lalit, Preeti, Prakhar. Good evening, Arshan. Good evening, guys. Good evening, all of you. And I welcome you all to my first ever YouTube stream. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening. I hope you can see me. First of all, confirm this. Am I clearly audible and visible? Please tell me that, everyone. And let me also adjust my quality here. Am I clearly audible and visible? Confirm me that first. Everyone. Okay, that is great. So, good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. And I welcome you all. Thank you for joining today's stream. And today is our first stream. And in this stream, as you can see my title, we are going to create a sticky notes app from scratch. Loud and clear like thunder. That's amazing, Shai. That's amazing. Thank you so much, buddy. Good evening, Priyanka. Good evening, Lalit. So, good evening, guys. And once again, welcome to my first ever YouTube stream on my own channel. Okay. And thank you so much for joining in. And today, we are going to make a sticky notes app from scratch by using HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript. No library, no framework at all. Okay. So first of all, I would like to tell you about myself. So my name is Saurabh Gupta and I'm by profession a full stack developer. And here I'm going to be teaching you how to create cool stuff using all the technologies. So today's stream is all about creating a sticky notes app, and in the future streams as well, we're going to create a lot of cool things. So I hope you will be here with me on every stream. I'm hoping for that, and we'll enjoy whatever we are doing. We'll enjoy it together. Okay? So without using any more time, guys, let's start with today's thing. But before that, I would like to tell you one thing, that for this particular project, if you guys know a little bit of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, that will help a lot. But if you don't know, doesn't matter. It's totally fine. You can still just focus on everything that I'm teaching, focus on everything that I'm telling you, and I promise you that you'll understand everything. Okay? So even if you don't know HTML, CSS, JS, from your old days, no problem at all. You will still understand everything. I'll try my best in that case. But yeah, if you know a little bit of HTML, a little bit of CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript, that will definitely help. Okay? So guys, without using any more time, let's start. Let's see how to build a sticky notes app from scratch using HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript. And guys, believe me, when I'm saying it from scratch, that means it's going to be completely from scratch. Okay? So let's get started. First of all, tell me, are you guys excited for this app? Everyone. Are you guys excited for this app? Okay. And I would also like to tell you all the tools that I'm going to use. So I'm going to use Visual Studio Code for coding, and I'm going to use Chrome for the output basically. So two softwares, that's all. Visual Studio Code and Chrome. So if you don't have it, please download it and you can also start coding. But yeah, there is no mandate that you have to use Visual Studio Code only. It's a good editor, and right now it's like quite famous. So you can go with it. Otherwise, totally fine. If you like Sublime Text, if you like brackets, if you like any other editor, that's totally fine. But for this project, I'm using Visual Studio Code as my editor and Chrome as my output device. Output software, not device exactly. So let's go. Let's start, everyone. So let me open my Visual Studio Code. Okay. Complete blank. And let's go and create a new folder. So let's call it sticky notes. Okay, let's open this folder in VS Code. So let's simply drag it, or you can also, okay, I've opened two. Let me close one, and here we go. File, open folder, and desktop, and here we go. Sticky notes. So guys, let's start. Okay, so first we'll start with the designing. Okay, and as we progress, we'll start adding JavaScript into it. And I would love that if you'll be like able to be on this stream till end, because we are going to do a lot of things and I don't want any of you guys to miss anything. Okay, and you guys are like, it's totally fine if you guys tell me if I make any mistakes, and if you have any doubts in between, just stop me at that time. I am watching the chat every time. If you guys have any problem at any point of time, if you're not understanding anything at any point of time, just stop me, interrupt me, and I'll answer you. Okay, so you don't have to wait. Whenever you feel I'm having a doubt, I'm confused anywhere, ask it right away. Okay, don't wait till the end to ask your doubts. You guys can like keep let the doubts coming. I'll keep answering in between. Okay, not a problem at all. So guys, let's start. So first of all, I'm simply going to create a HTML file. Okay. I'm also going to create a CSS file, and I'm also going to create a JS file. So these are my files that I'm going to use today. So one HTML file for our content, one CSS file to style those content, and one simple JS file where we're going to write the magical code that will help us to make this sticky notes app. Okay. So let's go, guys. Let's start with the basic HTML. We don't need these meta tags right now, so let's remove them as well, and let's go. Document, remove this, and let's put sticky notes app. Okay, that is what we want. And let's also link the CSS file and the JS file. So link relation equals style sheet and href equals index.css. Okay, and let's also link the JS file. So script, here we go, script, and then src equals index.js. Okay, all set, everything is linked. Let's go, let's run this file. So copy the path, go in your favorite browser. In this case, I'm using Chrome, and just paste it. Here we go, all set, a good looking white page. So now then let's move ahead and let's do the basic CSS first. So asterisk margin 0 pixel, padding 0 pixel, so that basically every element that I create will start from 0. So by default, margin 0, padding 0, so no problems at all. So that every element starts from the start, from 0. No margin, no extra sizing, no extra padding. Okay, so guys, see. So basically, I'm dividing this lecture into two parts that we'll do today only, but I'm just telling you that we'll do it in two parts. So first part will complete the whole designing element. Now this project does not require a lot of designing, but still, first we'll complete whole design. I'll give you the idea on how we're going to work with that. And once we complete the design, we'll move ahead to the JS part where we'll start writing the logical code that will actually help us to generate the notes, edit the note, and also, save it and store it. Is that clear, everyone? So let's go. So first of all, I'm going to create a simple div, and let's give it a class of, let's call it container, something like that. You can call it anything, it's totally up to you. Or let's use a section tag. Let's follow some semantics. So it's a big section, let's call it section. It's totally fine, guys. You can use a div here as well, totally fine. They're all going to create boxes only, but let's say section for now. Okay, so let's go. Dot container, and guys, please keep answering, be proactive. Anytime if I ask that are you understanding, please tell me yes or no, so that I should know that if you're understanding everything or not. If you're understanding everything, then the stream will go very smoothly. Okay, so if I ask you are you understanding, just take your time and just say yes. A Y is also fine, just put Y, I'll understand that you're saying yes. Okay, so container, give it a height of, let's say, 100 VH. Give it a width of, let's say, 100%, that is basically full width. And also I want to do one more thing, that is box sizing, border box. Okay, so all the people who know basics of CSS, this is very simple, this is very simple to understand. So I'm hoping that everyone is understanding this. Very simple CSS, nothing tough. Hi Subrato, hi buddy, good evening buddy, good evening Jitendra, good evening to all of the new guys, good evening guys. Okay, so now let's move ahead, guys, and let's also give it a background color of gray. Let's see if it is working. Here we go, gray. But I don't want this gray, a little more blackish gray I want. So let's go and let's give it a little blackish gray like this one. Yeah, see guys, it's designed so we can change the color at any point of time. So for now, let's give this gray. Okay, I'm just seeing, okay, if this gray looks good. Yep, for now it's fine. We'll change it if we need, or maybe a little lighter. Now I think it's a little darker. So let's make it a little more lighter. So like this. Yep, this will be fine. Maybe it's almost same as the normal one, but yeah, that's fine. Cool. Here we go. All set. Now then, we need two buttons. We need to create two buttons. One button for create a new note. One button for basically saving. So once I edit that note, once I edit everything that I want, I can save that note. Okay, so that's what I want. So let's create the layout for that two buttons. So what I want is I want a button here for new note, and I want a button here for save all, or I can have the two buttons here only, new and save all. Good evening, Priyesh. Good evening, buddy. Good evening, buddy. Okay, so let's go, guys. Let's go now, and let's create that. So first, I'm gonna create a div, and I'm gonna give it a class of header, something like that. Let's go dot header. Let's give it a width of 100% and a height of around 100 pixel for now. And just for now, a background color of red. Don't worry, guys, we'll remove all these colors. So at some point of time, it will start looking good. But for now, we're just giving any color so that we can see how the elements are actually getting created. Okay. Good evening, Ketki. Good evening and welcome to the stream. Here we go. A simple red bar. Now let's go to the container. And I also want to give this container a simple padding of 50 pixel from all around. So that's what I want, like this. Okay, all set, all cool. Now inside this header, I need two things. One is basically my logo or my text or the title of this site, whatever you want, or the title of the app that I want to display here, and two buttons, new and save, on this side. So let's go and let's do it. So first I need a p tag in which I'm going to put my name. So in this case, let's put sticky app, something like that. Okay, so we'll have that. You can see the sticky app here. Let's give it a class of, like, let's say app name. So app underscore name, something like that. Save it dot app name. Give it a font size of around, let's say 30 pixel. Font weight of, let's say 400. Okay, and font family as well. So font family of Cjo UI, one of my favorite fonts, simplest and easy. So let's go. Here we go, sticky app. Now let's also give it a background color so that for some time you can see how it is looking like. So just for now, let's give this a yellow color, like that. Now after this P, I need to create one div. Okay, and let me give it a class of buttons. Okay, simple class, buttons. And then let's go dot buttons. Give it a height of same 100 pixel. Give it a width of, let's say 40% for now, and give it a background color of green. Now see this output, and guys, tell me why they are coming one below each other. Can you guys tell me, everyone? Let's make it a little interactive. Why they are coming one below each other? Can you guys tell me, please? Everyone, why they are coming one below each other? Can anyone answer me? Okay, I can see Prakhar is saying inline. No, it's not inline actually. Yes, Preeti, that's correct, because they are block elements, right? They are block elements, so they are basically coming one below each other. So guys, in this case, to adjust and align elements, I'm going to be using actually Flexbox. Okay, so yes, they are basically block elements. That's why they are going one below each other. So let's go to the header parent, the red one, and just tell him that I want your display to be flex. So basically now you're a Flexbox. So your items will behave like a flex items, and that they will basically adjust side by side in an inline block fashion. So here we go, like this. So you can see the yellow one and this one as well. Simple. Now then, let's also go here and tell it to have align items of center so that they are centered, like this. And to this P, I think we should give some padding, right? A little padding. So let's go to this P and give it a padding from top bottom 0 pixel, but from left and right around 20 pixel. So it will basically be like this. Yes, that's correct, guys. Yes, it was block element. That's cool. That's so cool. Now this is actually too much width. We don't need it this much. So what we're going to do is we'll just give it like 20% width. Yeah, that's fine. Now I want this yellow element at this end and this green element at this end. So for that, I'm going to go in my Flexbox, that is my header, and I'm going to put justify content space between. That will create a gap between both the elements. So now you can see the sticky app is here and this thing is here. Okay, cool, all sorted. Now inside this green element, I'm going to create my two buttons. Okay, so let's go and let's do it, guys. So now it should be simple. Let's create a button inside this, and I'm going to give it a class of btn, and on that I'm going to write new note. So one button for creating a new note and one button for saving. In this, I'm going to be showing you how to save your notes permanently so that you can come tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So let's say I create a note now, today, and I log in after I open the site, let's say after 3 days, 4 days, I can still see what notes I created. So without any backend, I'm going to show you how to actually store your notes somewhere. Okay, so that even if you join, even if you like, let's say open the site after 5 days, 7 days, you can still see it, right? So that's what we're going to do. By just using JavaScript, we're going to do that. I'll show you how to store it somewhere permanently. So button, for that purpose only, we have the save all button. Okay, save all. Do you mean by local storage? Yes, Preeti, yes, we're going to use local storage for that. Exactly, we're going to use local storage. So I'll show you how to store your notes data, or how to store your notes in local storage, so that even if you open the site after some days, you can still see your notes. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So let's give it a class, and yep, let's also give it a class of btn, as both are going to be same. Good evening, Anand. Good evening, buddy. Good evening, buddy. Welcome to the stream, buddy. Here we go. We have two buttons. Now then, let's go and let's style them as well. So first of all, .btn, I want to give a padding. Top bottom, I want to give around 15 pixels, and horizontally, I want to give 40. So yeah, they will look like this. Looks fine. Don't worry. We'll adjust it. Then it will look good. Now to this buttons, that is basically the green area. I'm also going to give it a display of flex. Here we go. Don't worry about it. And then we're going to give it align items of center. Here we go. Perfectly fine. And now also justify content center, so that now they're in center. Local storage with the help of JSON file. No, we're not going to use any JSON file. We'll store our data as a normal JS object. So yeah, we'll convert it into a, what do you say, kind of like JSON string, and yes, we'll store it in local storage. So yes, that's what we're going to do. So we can also create a future like reminders. Why not, Jitendra? Why not? That is something that we'll keep in mind. Maybe we'll add it in future. Why not? Definitely. Okay. So now then, guys, let's move ahead and let's style these buttons. So let's give them some good colors, right? They don't look that great. So let's give them some good colors. So first of all, font weight bold, like that. Text transform uppercase, so that we have, yep, that's cool. And now, okay, let's do one thing, guys. Let's remove all these colors so that they start looking good. Now you can see the adjustment, right? How I'm adjusting all these. So now I can remove the colors so that it starts looking good. So let's remove all the colors first. And now I'm actually feeling that instead of this gray, we should have some other color, some more lighter color. So let's go. Let's go to a little lighter part like this. Yeah, this is fine. See, it is design. It will keep changing. So no, not a problem at all. So let's give this a light color. And now refresh. And here we go. Sticky app. Two buttons. Now let's style those buttons as well. And for that, first of all, I need a little gap between those buttons. So for that, I'm going to go here and I'm going to give a column gap of around, let's say, 20 pixel. So there will be a gap of 20 pixel between the buttons. Amazing, right? Now then, let's remove the border. So border none. And let's give both of them a different background color. And for that, let's call it btn new, some other class I'm giving just to give colors. And let's call it btn save. So btn-new, btn-save, just to give them different colors. We can also use nchild here, totally fine, but I'm just giving two different classes. So it's totally up to us, whatever we want to do. So let's go. btn_new. I'm going to give you a background color of, let's say, yellow green, something like that, and a color of white. Here we go. Looks good, right, everyone? And also, Let's change the font family of the button. So font family, CJO UI. Again, the same font. Is column gap part of grid? Column gap is also part of grid, and it's also a property available with Flexbox in Preeti. So see, we have given display flex, right, to the buttons div that is behind the buttons, the parent of the buttons. So I can give column gap, and it will help me to create gap between the flex items. So in this case, see, this buttons is my flex box, the parent, and these two buttons that I have created, they are nothing but my flex items. So column gap can be used to between gaps between my flex items. Yes, column gap is also a property available in grid. It's also available in flex boxing. Okay, so column gap basically helps you to create gaps between your flexible items, vertical gaps. There is also row gap if you want to create, what do you say, horizontal gaps. Is it clear, Preeti? I hope you're understanding this. Okay, let's also give a color to the next one. So for that we have btn-save. Okay, let's also give it a background color of, let's say, for now I'm just going to give orange. We can change it, don't worry. And let's see, and also color white, so sorry. So color white, and this is not a good orange, so let's give some other orange. Just inspect it and give it some other orange maybe. See guys, I'm using any color. You can, if you want, you can also use any other color. It's totally fine. Okay, so I think this is fine. So let's take this, and yep, let's put this color. Okay, so looks good guys, everyone? Looks good? Simple. And yeah, let's just give some border radius here as well. So border radius of 5 pixel. Sir, please make a video on Flexbox. Yes, I'm planning that. Yes, I'm planning to make a video on Flexbox and grid. So yes, I'm going to do that. Yes. Now let's create some effects, normal effects, like when I hover on the button, I need some effect as well. So btn hover. Okay, first of all, when I move my cursor on the button, I want it to be pointer. So now see, I just put cursor pointer here so that when I move on that button, it becomes a pointer. Good evening, Imaz. Good evening, buddy. Welcome to the stream, buddy. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Okay. Now on hover, what I want to do is I just want to give a little shadow to it. Yes, that's what I'm planning. It looks like a material design, right? The colors and everything. So that's why I'm using shadow here as well. Yes. So box shadow 0, 0, 2 pixel gray. Let's see if that looks good. And also give it a little transition so that this change on hover takes a little time so that it will look animated. So transition 0.3 seconds. So now when I hover on the button and it will create the shadow at that time, it will take around 0.3 seconds. So it will look a little animated. That's all. Let's see. Okay, something, is it coming there? Or I think the background is also gray, right? That's why something is happening. Let's try black here. Black. No, am I doing any mistake here, guys? Can you guys spot it? btn hover box shadow 0, 0, 0, 2 pixel. What mistake I'm making here? Yep. Okay. So I forgot to give the size. Cool, not a problem. But actually it should also work without this. This is not a mandatory thing, right? Okay, it is getting applied, but it's too small and it's the same color. Okay, let's make it 5 pixel. Okay, so that was actually very small. Yep, now see, it's actually getting applied. That's what I was thinking. Cool, fine. Can you guys see that, everyone? Yes, it was very small. Yes, I was thinking, yep, now when I saw it like this, then I understood, yep, that was the problem. I thought it was not working. Okay, so now I don't want black. I actually want gray. Let's see if gray looks fine there. Or maybe we can use a little dark gray because the background is already gray, right? And here we go. Yep. Now the hover effect is working. Sir, can you tell box shadow how it works? Yes, Priyesh, definitely. So see, box shadow is very simple. So it's a property that helps you to apply shadow on elements. So the first one is basically, so it has basically 4 parameters. I'm writing 3 here, but it has basically 4 parameters. So it is like this. See, now actually it has 6 parameters in total, but for now I'm only going to tell you 4. So the first is the value for the right shadow, the shadow that will come on right. The second is the value for the bottom. Okay, now I have to confirm if by default it comes on top left or right bottom. We'll confirm that. Let's do it. 2 pixel, 2 pixel, or let's give it 5 pixel actually, or 10 for now, just to show you. 10 pixel, 10 pixel. The third one is the spread of the shadow. How much you want to spread the shadow, how much you want to smudge the shadow. That is your third parameter. And fourth is what should be the size of your shadow. Okay, so you can put any size like 10 pixel. Now let's see. And here we go. See that? By default, it is right and bottom only. Now I can move this shadow towards top and left by putting minus in front of the first two parameters, because they were for right and left. Now they will work for, sorry, they were for right and bottom. Now they will work for, see, top and left. But if I keep them 0, 0, the first two, then the shadow applies all around it. So you can think like by default the light is on the top, so the shadow comes on right and bottom. When you apply minus, the light is on the bottom, then the shadow applies top and left. And when you make the first two elements 0, the light is in the front, so the shadow basically is all around it. Is it cleared? Who was asking this question? Let me just yeah, Priyesh, is it cleared, buddy? So in this case, I don't want any size. I simply want a 5 pixel spread. So that's what I want. That's all. A 5 pixel spread and dark gray color, or maybe gray was more better. Yep. So all set. Looks good. There is a shadow, and that's fine, guys. Okay, everyone, are we cleared with this? Can we move ahead? So the first section is created. Sticky app, new note, save all. All set. Everything is created. Okay, can we move ahead, guys? Okay. Now let's go ahead and create a dummy note here, because that is what we are also going to generate using JavaScript. Okay, so let's go and let's create a dummy note, and then after that we'll also generate it using JavaScript. So first of all, just for designing purpose, let's create a dummy note and let's see how it's going to work. So let's go, guys. Let's go. So let's go after the header, outside the header, and let's create a div here, and let's give it a class of notes, because it is going to handle all my notes. Okay, so let's go. Let's write CSS for notes. See, guys, always do comment in your codes so that you can easily understand what's happening anywhere, so that when you even open your code after like 10 days, 12 days, 1 month, 2 months, you can still understand what thing you wrote for what purpose easily. So for that purpose only, keep commenting in your code. Do good comments. So now I'm writing below this, whatever I'm writing is the CSS for the notes section. That's all. So let's go. Dot notes, height of around, for now, let's say, I don't know, maybe 500 pixels, width of 100%, and just for now, just to look at it, background color of red. Just to look at it, guys, so no need to worry. I need this section to be a little bigger, maybe. That's fine. In future, I'll make it auto. So basically, it will grow depending upon the elements. But for now, this is fine. So now inside this, let's go and let's create a note. Okay. Let's go. So just give some space. Div. Give it a class of note. And let's go. Dot note. I want you to have a height of around, let's say, 400 pixel. A width of around, let's say, 23%. And for now, a background color of yellow, just like that. Too big, actually, so let's make it a little smaller, like let's say 20%. A little more smaller, maybe 18%. Yeah, this is a fine size for a note, right? This is a fine size for a normal sticky note. Or maybe 15%. No, that's too much. That's too less. 17. Yep, this is what I like. And also, height is fine. I think, yeah, height is fine. Okay. And also give it a border radius. So every note will have a border radius of 10 pixel. Yep, like this. So note will look like this. And now, see, guys, for some time. Okay, now actually, I am removing the height of notes. That means I want the height of notes to depend upon the number of notes that I create. So basically, if I create 10 notes, the height will automatically grow. So basically, I want this red element's height to grow depending upon how many elements I add inside it. So that's why I've removed the height. So when you remove a height, it basically becomes height auto. That means now the height will increase depending upon the number of children in it. And exactly same thing I also want for this gray div, the background one. So what I can do is I can tell that container that I have given you a height of 100 VH, but I don't want this. I want you to have a minimum height of 100 VH. That means by default, your height will be 100 VH, but if more elements get added, you will increase. Because if I only keep height 100 VH and if elements increase, they will go out of that element. They will go outside the container because the size of the container, the height of the container is fixed. So that's why I'm giving minimum height 100 VH. That means by default, your minimum height will be 100 VH. That means you will never go below this. But if the elements increase, you can obviously go beyond that. You can grow. So that's why I'm giving minimum height. So now see, it is still fine. But if elements grow, that gray container will also grow. So that's what I wanted. So that's all, guys. That's all. I hope everyone is understanding. Just let me know once, guys. Everyone understanding this? Cool. So now we can remove this red color. We don't want to see it anymore, but it's there. We should understand that it's there. This red element is there, but I'm going to remove it. So let's remove it. So now it looks like a good sticky note. See, it looks like a note, and let's give it a little shadow so that it looks more clearer. So box shadow, again all side shadow. So 0, 0, 5 pixel. For now, I'm going to give it gray, but I'm going to change it actually. I need a little blackish shadow. See, it actually looks 3D, right, everyone? It looks like a note. Actually, I don't have to give any other shadow. It is looking like a note. Amazing. Okay, fine then. Let's create the internal elements for it now. So the internal elements are first a simple input field in which I'm going to let the user write a title. Okay. So let's go input type text placeholder. Let's call it sticky title. So sticky title, something like that. So here we go. We have this input field. Amazing. That's totally fine. And yes, one more thing. Every note will also have a padding of 20 pixel all around. So I want this. So here we go. Sticky title. Now let's give it a class. Let's give it a class of title to this input field, and let's work on it. So dot title, I want you to have a width of 100%. I want you to have a height of around 30 pixel. So basically it will look like this. A little more maybe. We can make it 40 pixel. Okay. And whatever I'm going to write inside you, I want to increase the font size of that. So let's increase that, guys. So let's say font size. Oh, wow. Let's say font size of, let's say 20 pixel. Yep, that much is fine. And font weight bold. Right now I know it is not looking that great, but you'll understand what I'm trying to do here in some time. So let's do dot dot dot, something like that. You'll see the technique of how I'm going to make it look like a proper sticky note. You'll see. Please focus, everyone. I'll make it look like a proper sticky note in some time. And yep, that is fine actually. And yeah, let's change the font family. So font family, again my favorite one, CSS UI. Guys, you can use any other font if you make it. No padding. You don't have to give it padding actually. See what I'm going to do now. Now guys, focus. See. So first thing that we do here is we make border none. And then we make background color transparent. And now see what happens. It looks like, okay, and also outline none. I forgot that. Outline none. And now see the technique. Now it looks like that you're actually putting a title to the sticky note. No one will ever feel that there was an input field there. See? It looks like a title, right, everyone? Does it look like there was an input field there? So that's the technique. Simple technique. Nothing too much. You don't have to like put any content editable or something like that. Simple technique to make it look like a title. Do you understand, everyone? Right? Amazing. So now then let's move ahead and let's create the area where user can write whatever they want, the list and everything. So let's go, guys. Let's go. And for that, I am going to be using a text area. So let's go. Text area. Give it a class of content. Okay, give it a class of content and also give it a placeholder of content here, and again no dot dot dot, that's fine, content here is fine. So you can see now, again let's make it work first. So let's go dot content. I want you again to have a width of 100%, a height of around let's say 300 pixel, like this. That's fine. And now guys, one more thing, I am also going to go and remove the height of node. That means now your height will also depend upon the elements inside you. Are you understanding the point, guys? Now your height will also depend on the elements inside you. So now I have removed the height of node as well. Okay, now then let's go ahead and let's also make its border disappear. So border none, background color transparent, and outline none. And here we go. See now, content here. Now actually we should increase the font size a little bit. So for the text area, font size of let's say 18 pixels. See, and a little gap. So let's go to this. Either now here we can give margin top. So we can do that actually. So let's do a little margin top. So margin top of 20 pixels. So now see guys, it looks like a proper sticky note. No one will ever feel that there was an input field here. See, so now I can give title and I can come here and write my content like normal. See that everyone? Is it cleared? So whatever title you want, let's say grocery list, something like that, whatever you want. And after this, whatever you want, like oil, then let's say veggies, whatever you want. See, it looks like a proper sticky note. So this is a technique, guys, of creating a simple and collected sticky note without using any hi-fi techniques. Simple text fields and just remove their colors and borders, and it will look exactly like a proper sticky note. Okay, so that's the design of a single sticky note. But this is something I don't want directly. Actually, what I want is, I don't want any notes here by default. Oh, we can keep one node by default here. That's totally fine. But I also want to generate more nodes when I click on this new node button. Now here comes the JavaScript part. I also want to generate more nodes if I create on this new node button. Are we understanding the point, guys? Okay. So one node is there, but I also want to generate more nodes if I click on this new node button. So then let's go ahead and let's start integrating some magical JavaScript in this so that we can generate some more nodes when someone clicks on this new node. Okay, so let's go, guys. It should be very simple. So now let's see how to generate an HTML element by using JavaScript and in the perfect way possible. So let's go. So inside JS file, I'm going to create a function of let's say new node. I'm also going to call it new node. Okay, function new node. And now guys, I'm going to be showing you how to generate a HTML element like this by using JavaScript. So guys, please focus. It's very easy to understand, but you have to focus. Okay, you guys have to focus. I'm going to be showing you how to create real HTML elements using JavaScript, but you have to focus. Okay, so let's go. Let's start. So see, if I want to create something like this, what is the sequence? First, I create a div. Then inside that, I create an input box. Then inside that, I create a text. Now, what is the complete process? First, I create a div. I give it a class of node. Then inside that, I create an input field. I give it type. I give it placeholder. I give it class. Then I create a text area. I give it class. I give it placeholder. And that's it. So this is the technique, right? This is what we have to follow in JS as well. But the way will be different, but the technique will be same. The sequence will be same. So let's see how to create real HTML elements using JavaScript. So let's go, guys. So first, the method that you have to create an element here is document dot create element. This is what you have. So first I need to create a div. So think of it like this. I'll be writing it below. I'll be writing it below what I'm doing. Okay, let me just write some dummy code. Select this, comment it. Okay, it's commenting like that only. Fine. So as soon as I do this, think of it like I did this. I created a div. Now I'm explaining you the process as well. So as soon as I do this, I did this. Okay. Now I'm storing it in a variable. So let's call it note equals to this. So I create one div element and I store it in a variable called note. Okay. Now see what I'm going to do. I'm going to say note dot class list dot add. What class I want to give it? I want to give it a class of note. So let's go. Give it a class of note. That means now by this line, what I'm doing here is I'm simply giving it a class of note. Guys, are we understanding it? So first line creates a div. I store it in note. And then I say note.classlist.add. Add a class in the list of classes, and the class is note. So I did this. I'm giving you live what's happening with that code. I'm just giving you a live idea about that. Now what I want to do is I want to add an input inside it. Okay, this is what I want to do next. I want to add an input inside it. So for that, first I have to create an input element. So let's do that. Let's call it say title. So let title equals to, again same thing. Whenever you want to create an element, same thing. Why not ID? Because in this case I don't need ID, right? See, how am I applying CSS? I'm giving a node class, right? That's how it is. This CSS is getting applied, right? So I also want that whatever element I'm creating here, this element, I also want this CSS to be applied on this element that I'm creating. That's why I'm giving it a class of node. And right now I don't need ID. But Preeti, if I need ID, yes, definitely we'll add it. Are you understanding? So right now I'm giving it a class of node so that this CSS can be applied on it as well. Is it cleared? Okay. Now I'm creating the next part, the input element. You can see now I want to create this input element inside it. So first I create a variable called title in which I'll store my input element. So again same thing, document dot create. So whenever you want to create a real element, guys, real HTML element, just go ahead and use create element, document dot create element. So I want to create an element called input. And now what are the things I want to do? First I want to give it a class. And what is the class I want to give it? Let's see. I want to give it a class of title. Okay. So how to do that? Simple. Title is the variable which is holding this input element. Dot class list dot add equals to what? Title. So think of it like inside this now a title class has been added. Now I want to add an attribute called as placeholder. Simple. Title, that is basically the variable. See guys, now whenever you want to use this input element, you're going to use this variable. That's why I stored that in this variable. Okay, I create the element and store it in variable so that I can use it multiple times. So now title dot, the function to add an attribute is set attribute. Correct way of adding. So title dot set attribute, what I want to add? I want to add a placeholder attribute and I want to give it a value of title. Okay, what is the value I'm giving here? Okay, sticky title. So let's just copy this. This is what I want to give here as well in the placeholder. So sticky title. Okay. And then I also want to add one more thing, right? That is the type. Now by default the type is text, but we'll still add it. So title dot one more attribute. So set attribute type as text. Done. Sorted. Is it cleared, everyone? And now what I need to create? A text area. So let's create that element as well. So I'm going to call the variable as content in which I'll store my text area. So content, again, document dot create element. What I want to create a text area. And then I want to set few things. That is, what are the things that I want to set, guys? Class and placeholder, two things. So let's do that. Content dot class list dot add. What is the class that I want to give? Content. And after that, content dot set attribute placeholder. And what is the value that I want to give? I want to give the value as content here. That's it. Sorted. Let's go. Here we go. So now guys, You can think of like I have created all the elements. So I have this line will create the note div, which is having a class of note. These 4 lines will create an input element, which will have a class of title, a placeholder of sticky title, and a type of text. These 3 lines will create a text area, which will have a class of content and a placeholder of content here. Now, I need to add this title element in this content element inside the note element, like this, right? See, div class note is the parent. Inside that I have input, inside that I have text area element. So I need to do that. So for that, first go note dot append child. That basically means put a child in this. I want to put an element inside this note element. What I want to append? I want to first append title, and then again note dot append child. That means add one more element inside note, that is content. That's it. So I create a div, I create an input, I create a text area, and then I add that title and content, that is input and text area, in the note element. Now finally, I need to add this note element inside this nodes div. Right? There is already a note, but I also want to add one more note. So for that, give this ID so that we can fetch this as well. So let's give it ID of notes only. And now here I'll go and write document dot get element by ID. So I'll fetch that notes. I'll select that notes element, notes, and inside that append a new child. Append child basically means whatever child is there, just add one more child after that. That's what append child means, guys, if you don't know. So if you know the basics, you'll know this function, but if you don't know, append child basically means whatever child that element has, just append one more child. So inside the note element, inside the notes element, we know that there is already a note, but add one more child to it. So after this, that element will be added as well. So the new element, that is this note, I want to append that. So append this note element inside that notes. And that's it. This is the whole function. If you read it properly, it is just like normal English. If you read it, it's that easy. So first, create a div, give it a class of note. Create an input element, give it a class of title, placeholder, and type. Create a text area, give it a class of content and placeholder. And then put the title and the content, that means input and text area, in the note, and then put that note in the notes. That's all. Guys, are we clear with this? Please tell me, is this functionality clear to everyone? Guys, is this functionality cleared to everyone? Please tell me, guys. Are we cleared? Any confusion? All set? Amazing. Now then, let's see if this is working. So let's call this new node function. Let's call this new node function on that button. So let's go to that button and let's simply write. Now this is not the only way of calling something. This is not the only way of applying events. But right now I'm using the easiest way so that everyone can understand. So on click. Okay, let me copy that function name properly. I think I didn't copy that name properly. So copy and just put it here. New node. And now guys, let's see if this is working. Let's go. And also, let me just say that notes, I want you to have a display of flex. I forgot that, right? Display of flex. And that's it. This function is just to create another div when clicked. Yes, Imas, exactly. Now see if it is working. So there is already one. Now the other ones will be appended after this. So see, new note. Okay, the style is not getting applied. Element is getting added, but the style is not getting applied. There might be a problem. Let's see. Okay, that div is not having a class. Why is that happening? They are not getting the class. Something is the issue here. Class list. Okay, let me just see if add is a function, I think. Maybe add is a function not equal to. So sorry for that. Let's see. Yup. So guys, add is a function. Okay, don't use it like add equal to. I'm so sorry. It's a mistake. So add is actually a function. Yes, I'm going to do column gap. Yes. So guys, title.classlist.add is a function. You have to put the class name inside the bracket. I forgot that. So classlist.add. To this one, what are we giving? Title and same. So sorry. Silly mistake. Add. What is the next one? Content. Content. Save it. And now let's see. New note, and here we go. Exact same note. Now I need a little gap here, so let's go and let's give a little gap. So for that, so if one of it is having a 17% width, so how much it will take, guys? How many elements will be adjusted? Let's add actually. Let's add. And also let's add flex wrap first. So we can confirm how many elements will be added. So flex wrap, wrap. Let's see how many elements get added in one line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 5 elements. So 17% width, 5 elements. So guys, how many elements? The complete size, how much complete size? 7 5s are 35, 50. They are taking around 85. So 15% is left. And that's what I want to give as column gap. So column gap, don't calculate it by yourself. Just write cal C 15% divided by 4. And that will simply give you. Sir, can you explain flex wrap? Yes, definitely, definitely. See, I'll explain you. Let me remove these two things first. Yes. See now, in Flexbox, what happens is, when elements go, Flexbox, if the size of the elements goes beyond the size of the parent starts to shrink the elements. See now, it is shrinking the width so that everyone can adjust. So this is the by default behavior of a Flexbox, Ankit. They start shrinking the elements so that they can adjust everything in one line. That's a default behavior because by default, the direction of flex is row. So it tries to adjust everything in a row. So I'm telling I don't want this. I don't want this. Please wrap the elements if they go bigger. That means don't shrink the size to just adjust them in one line. If it goes bigger, put it in the next line. Wrap it. I don't want it in the same line. Is it clear? That's what I'm doing. And I'm just putting column gap so that there can be a gap between these elements. Now see. I'm having gap, and if the elements go bigger, the next one comes at the bottom. So this is what I wanted. Wrapping. Is it cleared? And also I need to give row gap so that there can be a gap from bottom as well, from this. Okay. Can you please explain the container button? Click again it. Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. First of all, let me just give a row gap here. Row gap of, let's say, 30 pixel. Okay. Yes, can you please explain the container button click again? Like you want to understand what is happening with this button? Preeti, can you please tell me? You want to know what is happening with this button? So basically, see, when I click on that button, I call the function new node. And as soon as I call this new node function, what happens is it creates a note element, not JS. Can you please explain your question like just once to me? What's exactly the question? Okay. How it was shrinking? Is that your confusion, Preeti? Can you please tell me? Is that your confusion? Okay, now I'm not understanding. You said not JS, then JS, yes. Okay, do one thing. Write your question once completely. I'm waiting. Just write your question once. I want to see what exactly is your doubt. Can you please write your question once? I'm waiting. Don't worry. I'm waiting. I want to understand what exactly you have as the doubt. Is the confusion is in JS? Okay, see, I'll tell you. Fine. So basically, when you click on the button, this new node function is called. That means it calls this functionality. Now, what is this functionality doing? First, it creates a div using JavaScript. See, we are using JavaScript to create elements. So first, it creates a div, gives it a class of note. Then it creates an input element, gives it a class of title, gives it a placeholder of sticky title, gives it a type of text. Then it creates a text area, gives it a class of content, and gives it a placeholder. Then I say, put this input element and this content element, that is nothing but input and text area, put them inside this note. That means in the div, right? This note is nothing but div, right? This note is nothing but your div. So put this input element and text area element inside the div. Just like this structure, see? Div, which is having a class of note, then input inside it and text area inside it. That's what I'm doing. I create a div with a class of note, then I create an input, I create a text area, and then I put both of them inside div by doing this. Note.append child title. Title is nothing but your input element. Note.append child content. Content is nothing but your text area. Then whatever node that I am generated, put this inside the notes parent, the notes element. Notes element is what? This one. See, one note is already there. So I'm saying add one more note. This is the new node, right? This note is a new node. So I'm just adding one more. That's it. It's just, see, The way you code this, the way you code this, I'm just telling JavaScript to code this for me. Understand it like that. If I want to code this, I'll create the div tag, give it a class, create an input, give it a class, create a text area, give it a class. I'm just telling JavaScript code. I'm just giving JavaScript some instructions. Fine, you do this for me. I'm simply automating my task. Now I don't want to code, you code it for me. So this is how JavaScript will code this exact same thing. Create a node div, create input, create text area. I hope it is cleared. So now, perfectly fine. Is it cleared, everyone? See? All set, guys. I can add as many nodes as I want. But the first node is there, that's fine. But I can now add as many nodes as I want. Are we cleared, guys? Can we move ahead now? And see, I can also write content. So actually, if you see, the sticky notes app is already working, right? I can add a new note, I can add title, different content. But the problem is when I refresh, it goes away. Everything is gone. So now that's the issue. Sticky notes is working. Are you not making a button for save the note? Yes, exactly. So right now it is working. But what I want is, if I add 3 notes and if I put some content in all that, and if I click on save, I want to save all of this. So even if I refresh, these things will be there. Is it cleared? So even if I refresh, even if I close the browser and open this site again, these 3 nodes will be there for me. Is it cleared? That's what I want. I want them to be saved. I want this data to be saved somewhere. No. In this case, we don't need prevent default. See, if I refresh, see guys, whatever content you create dynamically using JavaScript, if that data is not persisting somewhere, this thing will definitely go away. So the problem that is happening here is I'm not saving it anywhere. Am I telling the browser that you need to save it? No. Am I telling the backend database to save it? No. I just click on new note, a dynamic element is generated, but when I refresh, the page is completely refreshed, the JavaScript effect is gone, and everything is gone. So now what I want is, if I create a new note, and if I put some content, I need to save this element. I need to save this element somewhere. And now that's the logic I want to create. So guys, are we ready? Can we move ahead, guys? Everyone, are we ready? Should we move ahead? And actually, I don't want any default node, by the way. We'll see if we want this, we'll add that. But right now, I don't want a default node. I want a blank. Don't worry, at the end, I'll add a default node again. But right now, just to understand the code properly, I'm removing a default node. Just for right now. In some time, I'll add a default node again. So guys, then, let's do it. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to create an array. I'm actually going to create an array to store my data. Okay? And see, single note is having 2 things. Every single note is having 2 things. A title and what? A content. So for every note, I'm going to create an object. And every object will hold a title and a content. Is that clear, everyone? Every note will hold a title and some content. Is that clear, guys? So let's do it. So let's create an array. Okay, I'm not going to use var, old fashioned. Let's go for let. And let's call it notes. Or let's call it notes data. Something like that. And it's an array. It is an array. Okay, now this array is by default having nothing. Okay, completely blank array. Now, whenever I create a new note, I also want to add an object in this array. So that note and that object will be connected. And whenever I update the note, that object will be also updated. Understanding the point, guys? Are you getting the point? I want, whenever I create a note, see, what I want to do is, as soon as I create a note, I also want to add an object inside that. So I want to do this. See, inside that array, right? So array name is nodes data. So nodes data dot push. Push a new element inside that array. And what I want to push? I want to push object with, okay, let me do it. Okay, fine. Push object which has a title, a blank title, and a blank content. So this is what will be pushed inside that array. So nodes so sorry guys, push is also a function, so I should use a bracket. Why am I using equal to again and again? So sorry. Okay, so this is what I want. This is what I want. So as soon as I create a new node. Inside the nodes data array, that means this blank array, I want to push an object. A new object will be created inside that, which will have a blank title and blank content. Is it clear, everyone? Guys, are we clear? Please tell me. Understanding this? Okay. Now let me show you if it is actually working. So let me also do a console.log. Console.log the nodes data array so that you can see what's happening. Now see everyone. See what's going to happen here. Let me open the console. And now see. I create one node. See. I have an array. Inside that there is one object with blank title, blank content. I create one more node. Now inside my array I have two objects. And both of them have blank title, blank content. So now if I create n number of nodes, I'll have n number of objects. And these single objects will be connected to all the nodes. And whatever I update in that node, it will be updated in this title and content. This is like a storage. This is array is going to be it's going to behave like a storage of my nodes. Understanding, everyone? Guys, getting it? Now we have to understand how to connect them. Now that is what we have to understand. How to connect them together. Is it clear, everyone? Should we do it, guys? Everyone understanding what I'm doing? So now for every node, I will create a new object and I want to store data related to that node inside that object. Okay, so let's go. Let's go. And to do that, I need to do one more thing. That is, I also need to add an ID. So let me create a variable initially. For now, let me create a variable called as ID, which will initially be 1. And every time this will go. So ID, or let me call it, let's say, generated ID, something like that. Okay. And every time, every object will have a generated ID. And then let me also do generated ID plus plus. So every time this will increment. So every element will have a new ID. Now see, like this. Focus. A new node, first node will have an ID of 1, title nothing, content nothing. A new node will have an ID of 2, title nothing, content nothing. Understand the point? So everyone will have a different ID so that I can identify every data uniquely. That's what I'm doing here. Is it clear, guys? So I have a generated ID variable which is initially 1, and then every time I generate a new element, that will increment, and every time it will just go on 1, 2, 3, 4. So every object will have ID like 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone will have a different ID. Clear, guys? All set? Are we ready to move ahead, everyone? So this is what generating objects is. Now we need to connect it properly. So if I edit a node, the object that I have created for that node, it should also be updated. That's what we want to do. So let's go, guys, and let's do it. Let's go and let's do it. Okay, everyone? Let's go and let's do it. It should be very simple. It is actually very simple. No need to worry about that. And for that, actually, I need to create some functions in it. Okay. So I need to add one more attribute. Guys, I need to add one more attribute actually. So I need to add an attribute title dot set attribute. I need to add an attribute, a custom attribute for holding some data. So the data will be C. I'm adding a custom attribute called as data ID to my input element. And in that, I'm going to store this value of generated ID like this. And same thing I'm going to do with this. See now, I'll show what I'm doing. So basically, to both of them, I'm adding an attribute of data ID, and both of them will also have the ID. That means my elements, title and content, will have the same ID as the object that is getting generated for that. That is the relationship. That's how the relationship will work. That's how they will know what is my object. See, I'll show you. See now. So as soon as I add a new element, see. Okay, let me just put the console.log again. Console.log nodes data. Okay, now see, focus everyone. If I add a new node, see, a new object is generated which is having ID of 1, title nothing, content nothing. Now see, if I inspect this, can you see? It is also having a data ID. If you see data ID of 1, that means it is also having 1, and the object is also having ID of 1. That's how I'm going to connect them. That's how I'm going to connect them. Now see, if I create a new node, see now, this should have a data ID of 2. See that? Everyone, data ID of 2, and the object that is generated for this will also have ID of 2. So that's how I'm going to connect them. So I'm adding an extra attribute which is just holding that ID that I'm creating in the object, and that's how I'm going to identify which note is working for which object, or which object is storing which note's value. So I'm giving both of them same IDs. To note, I'm giving attribute. To this, I'm just giving an ID variable, and that's how I'm going to compare. Is it clear, everyone? So I'm trying to create a relationship between them so that I can easily identify in which object which node's data is stored, so that they can update properly. Guys, all set? Okay, so now then let's move ahead and let's perform the editing, and let's see if it is getting in that object. Now that's very important. So let's go and let's create a function first for title. First for title. See, now there is also a simpler way to do this, but right now I'm going with the more detailed way of this so that you guys can understand. So let's get a function of update title. Okay, update title, like this. Okay, now whenever I write something in the input element, I want this function to be called. Whenever I write something in the input element, I want this function to be called. Okay, now this element does not exist by default, right? So how will I call this function? So it's simple, guys. See, so again, go to this input element and just write title dot okay, let me just write on key up. So basically title dot on key up, that means whenever you go inside title and start writing, I want to call a function called as update title. This is what I want to call, and no need to put any brackets. That's totally fine. So whenever I start writing inside the title, that means the input element, please call this function. Let me show you now if it is actually working. Console.log hello. Save it and see now. Let me open the console. Now guys, please focus here. Focus. First, as I click on new note, okay, again console.log, amazing. Fine. First of all, let me show you this. Now see, if I start writing in the title, can you see? Hello is getting printed continuously. Can you see that, everyone? That means the event is working. The event is working. And let's see if it is working for every element. Create a new note and write in there. It is working. See that? Everyone, are we cleared? Guys, are we cleared? That means now what I'm doing is I'm just saying whenever I start, see, on key up means when you start typing when you just basically start clicking your keys, and when you leave them, that's when this event works. So basically, see guys, first of all, one thing to understand, whenever I say title, that means I'm talking about the input element. Whenever I say title, that means I'm talking about the input element. That means whenever I perform on key up, that means when I press my keys and leave them, at that point of time, call this function update title. And it is calling this, and I'm getting hello. Now I'm going to use this functionality to actually update my object value. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do that quickly. It should be simple. But for that, I actually need the help of the ID. So now guys, how can you access this input element inside this function? So understand, in every function, there is a this keyword available. By default, it's there in JavaScript. So in every function, there is a this keyword available, which refers, if you're performing event handling, if you're performing any event handling, that this keyword refers to the element on which the event is getting performed. Now you tell me, where is this event getting performed? Where is this update title getting called? On which element? Can you please tell me, guys? On which element? Come on, guys. This update title is getting performed on which element? This event is getting performed on which element? This on key up event is getting performed on which element? Exactly, on the title. That means on the input, right? Title or input, whatever you say. So basically, inside the function, there is a this keyword available, which will actually help you easily to access the element you are clicking. Now see this new note. If I start typing, can you see it gives me the input element, the complete input element? See the first one, input class title, placeholder, sticky title, type, text, and data ID 1. Can you see that? It is giving me this input element directly. I've got the element. Now I simply need to extract this ID from it, and by that I can easily connect to the object. You got the point, everyone? Guys, you got the point? So that's what we are doing. Simply that's what we are doing. That's all. That's it. Okay, so let's see now. So now if I want this data ID, if I want to extract it, that means in this case this keyword is giving me the whole input element. I want that data ID attribute. So this is giving me input element. I'll write dot get the attribute from it. Get attribute. Set attribute is to create attributes. Get attribute is to get the attributes. So get attribute, and which attribute I want to get? Data ID. So whatever value that attribute is holding, now we'll get that. So let's see. Inspect. See, it's giving me 1. It gives me 1. Is it cleared, everyone? Guys, all set? We are getting 1. If I create one more, see, now we get 2. If I create one more, see, now I get 3. So for that, this keyword gives me the input element, and then get attribute data ID is giving me what I created, right? The data ID that I created while creating the element. I'm getting that ID, and now I'm going to use this ID to access the object and change it. But I also need this value, right? I also need this value if I want to change it. So again, I have the element, this, right? So this is giving me the element that I'm typing on. So if I want to get the value, simply write this dot value, and you'll also get the value of that. Now see, inspect. Console, sorry. Console, now see, new note, write ABC. See that? Everyone, you got the ABC as well. So this, understand guys. Now let me explain you this again. Okay. What are we doing? Whenever I perform a key up event, that means whenever I start typing inside the input element, this update title function will be called. Doesn't matter if I have 3 inputs. If I have 10 notes, I'll have 10 inputs. On all the 10 inputs, if I perform on key up, this update title will be called. And inside the update title, this keyword will actually help you to get the element where you're performing the event. So it will help me to get the input element. And from that input element, I can extract the data ID attribute that I created so that I can actually access the object. And also, I can access the value. And now I have the ID, I have the value, and now I have to get the proper object from this array and update it. That's all. Let's do it, guys. So first of all, I need to find the object. First of all, I need to find out the object with that ID. So first of all, let's store all this, guys. Let's call it let title ID, something like that. Title ID equals this. And also let value equals, or let's call it title value as well. So title value equals this. So now we got all the things. Okay. Now from that array, I need to find out the object that I want to update. And guys, how am I going to find? Okay, let me also do this. Just console.log the array somewhere so that you can see it. Console.log the nodes data. Okay, so I'm just keeping it so that you can see. Okay, so now see, if I create a new element, I got a node, and see there's an object with ID 1. I need to find this object out so that I can update this. So I have this title ID. When I start writing inside it, I'll get this title ID, which is nothing but exactly similar to this ID. So I have that one value, and I have to extract this object from that array to update it. Guys, are you getting what I'm trying to say here? Just tell me yes so that I can move ahead. Just say me yes, everyone. If you're understanding, just tell me yes. So I have the ID value in title ID, and with the help of that ID, I'll extract this particular object, and whatever value I get in title value, I will update it inside this title. So basically, I'll be updating the object as well. So then, let's go. Let's go. So first, I need to find out, right? It's going to be very simple. So let, call it obj equals, fetch that object first with the help of that ID. And for that, we're going to use a function called as find. So nodes data is my array. From that array, I want to find an element. Okay. So a function will be called for every element inside every object or every element inside that array. And every element will be available here. So let me call it note. And it also gives index as a second parameter. So for every element, now see inside this array there is only one element. For every element inside this array, for every note object inside this array, this function will be called. And that particular element that your loop is on, that, like for example, see guys, let me explain this again. So if inside, see right now, inside this I have 3 elements. So now this find function will loop through these 3 elements. It will loop through it one by one. So first it will go to this object, then it will go to this object, then it will go to this object. And for every object, it will call this function. So if it goes to this object, inside this function, inside this note variable, this first object will be available. Then when it moves ahead to this object, inside this note variable, that one will be available. When it moves ahead to this object, this one, inside this note object, that object will be available. And index will be also available. So whatever is the index of 0, 1, 2, that index will be available. Is it clear, everyone? That's what find is doing. So find will loop through all the elements, and for every element it will call this function, and for whatever element it calls this function, that element will be available as the first parameter. Now understand guys, I don't need to necessarily call it note. I can also call it n. I can also give my name here. It's just for good naming convention, I'm calling it note, because this object is holding data for note. Okay, now I want to tell this find that, okay, loop through it, loop through every element, call this function for every element, and get the nodes, get the objects one by one. But as soon as you find out that any of the nodes ID, that means I'm talking about this, any of the nodes ID matches the ID that I'm trying to find out, that is title ID, just return that element and end the loop. Return that element and stop finding. So that's why I'm writing return here. So loop through my array, perform this function for every element, make it available inside this, but as soon as you find out that that element's ID, that means I'm talking about this, that object's ID is matching my ID, just return that element and end it. Don't search forward, end it. And that element will be returned and it will be available inside this object. That means in this case, if my title ID is 1, it will find this object for me. Sir, please explain the find again. Yes, definitely. See, understand. Find is like a loop. See, okay. So I am doing nodes data dot find. That means inside this array, see, this is nodes data, right? This array is nodes data, right, Preeti? Right, everyone? This array is your nodes data. So inside this array, perform a loop. So find will start a loop inside this, and then it will go to every element one by one. So first it will go to this element, then it will go to this element, then it will go to this element. And for every element it goes on. So like for example this, first it will go to this element and it will call this function for it. Okay. And that element will be available as the first parameter. So this element that I have here, this first one, will be available in this node. So what I'm telling this function is, okay, do one thing, return the element if you find out that that element's ID, that means this one, this, if it matches my ID that I'm trying to find out. If it matches that, return it. Please return that and end the loop. That's what it does. If you don't find out, if they don't match, not a problem. Now move ahead. So now it will go to the next element. Again check if that element's ID and my ID that I'm giving is matching. If again they don't match, move ahead. Now again move ahead. Now check if they both match. Because now in this note variable, the next object is there. This one. Now check if they match. Now if they match, please return that element to me. Just give me that whole element. Just please give me that whole element, and that whole element will be available in this variable in which I'm trying to do. And then the loop will end. So at any point of time it finds out, it will end it. So everyone, are we cleared? Guys, all set? Cleared? Cool? Please tell me. Now let me actually show you how we're getting it. So console.log obj. Let's see if we are getting the correct object. Sorry. So now see, I create 1, 2, 3 elements. That means my array is something like this. I have an object with ID 1. I have an object with ID 2. I have an object with ID 3. Now see, let's say I start writing inside object sticky note number 2. Let's say I start writing in the sticky note number 2. Sticky note with ID 2. So now let's see if we are getting the object with the ID 2. So let's write something A. Okay, we're getting undefined. Amazing. What's happening here? Have I made any mistake here? Da, 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 da. Come on. Okay. Let's also print the title ID. I think we are doing some simple mistake somewhere. So let's also check the title ID. Are we getting the current title ID? Correct title ID. Okay, we are getting 2. Okay, guys. Understand the point. See what's happening here. See. I'll tell you. Now, inside the object, the ID is stored as a number. See, it's blue. It is stored as a number. And the data ID that we have, it is basically, see, it is basically a string. See? So that's why they are not comparing. That's why they are not getting compared, because one is number and one is string. Is it clear, everyone? That's why they are not getting compared, and that's why it is unable to find it. Hi, Princino. Hi, buddy. Welcome to the stream, buddy. You got the point, guys? So basically, yes. So what we have to do is we just have to tell that convert the title ID into number. So for that, just put it in a number function, number constructor. That's all. That's it. It will also convert the title ID into number. Or do this here. If you don't want to do it here, at the time you fetch it, convert it into number. That's it. Fine. You get the data ID, convert it into a number, and then give it to me. And now it will match. Now let's see if it is getting. So new. Let's put the second one. And guys, can you see that? 2, that is the ID of the sticky note, plus I get the object that is on the second place. See, ID number 2, right? I get the object with the ID of 2. All cool, guys? All settled? Now see, if I go for this one, see, I get the object with the ID number 3. If I go for this one, I get the object with the ID number 1. That's all. So the problem was when I fetched this data ID, it was getting fetched as a string. Is it clear, everyone? So I converted it into a number so that I can easily compare. Can we use double equal to? Yes, you can use double equal to, but it's just double equal to. I will not recommend to use it because it's like it doesn't check for types. So triple equal to is something that you can go for. See, in this case, if we would have used double equal to, it would have been working. Because double equal to will not check for type. It will just check if both are same. So for double equal to, this will work. For triple equal to only. No, actually, Lalit, this is a good way then. No, you should avoid using double equal to. You should avoid using double equal to in such cases. Okay, actually, this is a good way. Because ID, you need it as a number. When you put it as an attribute, then it became a string. But when I again want to use it, I want to use it as a number. So you should actually go with this way. Is it clear, Lalit? Okay. So now, guys, we are able to find the object. And now it's the time to update it. And it's very simple. So whatever you get in title value, just update it like that. So you get the object in object, right? You get that in the object. So just do this. Object dot title equals to this new title value. Sorry, title value. And that's it. Sorted. Let's see if this is working, guys. And let's also print the object. So console.log the obj. And let's see if it is working. Save it. New note. See, now I have three notes. Now I'm going to start editing the second one. Can you see, everyone? The object with the ID 2, the title of that object is actually getting updated. So when we made data type, could we made it number? Yes, at that time you can make it, definitely. But in JavaScript, we don't follow that. Normally in TypeScript, we follow that thing. Is it clear? Okay, but yeah, here we can't. We can actually, there is a way of doing it, but that is something we follow in TypeScript. We don't follow it in JS. Because if you make it number, you still have to convert it, right? Shy. Even if there was a way to make this variable number, what you're getting is still a string, right? So it will still not assign to that variable. So you still have to convert it into a number. So conversion will never go away. Whether you make it a number or not, you want to use it as a number. And the data that you're getting is coming as a string. So you still have to convert it. Can we use parseInt of number? Yes, you can use parseInt, but parseInt is like now the deprecated way. This is the new way, Preeti. Previously we used to use parseInt. Now we have number. This is the replacement of parseInt. Think of it like that. This is the correct way and new way. So use this instead of parseInt. But yeah, parseInt was doing the exact similar thing. So guys, are we sure? See, this object is getting updated. Okay, now let's see if it is also updating the array. I want to check that if the array is also getting updated, because it is an object, so the array should also get updated. So let's see that. Let's see that. New. Let's write something. Oh, sorry, wrong place. Title. And see, this object is getting updated, but let's see if the array is getting updated. Yes, here we go. Okay, no, it's the object. Let's go to the array. And here we go, guys. See, inside the array also the title is getting updated. That means we don't have to take any pressure of updating the array. Because objects are reference type, the array is also getting updated. And that's it. Done with the logic, almost. Is it cleared? So now see, let me show you only by using one note. So new note. So object gets created. Now if I start adding something, see, first of all, you can see the object is getting updated, plus inside the array also, the object is getting updated. I mean, could we have made custom data number in the beginning only? If you pass it as a data ID, it will go as a string only, even if it was a number initially. So when you fetch it, it will come as a number only. Are you getting my point, Shai? So even if you make it number, when you pass it as an attribute, it becomes a string. Is it clear, Shai? When you pass it on the data ID attribute, that time also only it became a string. So now when you fetch that, it comes as a string attribute. So you have to convert it. So guys, are we cleared? Now the array is getting updated, and that's what we wanted, right? Everyone, let me put this below so that I can show you. Okay, let me just remove this and let me show you if the array is getting updated perfectly. So guys, see now, if I create 1, 2, 3 nodes, see, I have 3 nodes, and let's update the third one. So A, B, C, and see, inside the array only, the third object title is getting updated. All set, guys? All cleared? Please tell me. All set, all cleared? No confusions here? Guys, everyone, I want everyone to answer. No confusion? And all the new people, please, guys, just if you're liking the session, if you're understanding everything, please also subscribe to the channel and like the video so that it can reach to more people, and then they also can learn and understand new things. Okay? So if you feel like if you're understanding the session, everything, please also like and subscribe and help us grow a little so that we can teach more people. Okay? So guys, one set of the task is done. One set of the task is done, and now is the time to store this array somewhere. Now is the time to store this array somewhere. But before that also, we also need to update the content, right? It is only for title right now. Also update the content. So let's do that. Just like update title, create one more function. So actually, let's copy it. Let's copy this function. See guys, exactly like this. So let's copy this function, update title, and let's create one more function called as update content. And now guys, in that case, we also have to add it here, right? On this text area. So just like this. But the function is what? First of all, it will be now content.on key up. And the function is what, guys? Update content. So again, inside this, the element will be available. And let's call it content ID and content value now. So this dot get attribute data ID will give me the ID of the text area. And this dot value will give me the value of the text area, right? So content value. And now again, we'll find it in the same way. And but here we go. We'll not update the title anymore. We'll update what, guys? We'll update the content. And now let's see if this is also working. So let's go, guys. And yeah, here we go. We don't have to compare it with title ID, right? We have to compare it with content ID. So same thing. So whatever we did for title, that's what we are doing for content as well. Because see, to the content also, we gave a data ID, right? So now when someone starts writing on the content, first we extract the ID, store it in content ID. When they write something, we get that value in content value. And basically, again, we find out that object with the help of the ID. And then we update the content, but not using this, using the content value. Exactly same what we did with title, we are doing with content. You can see we call this update content function. Yes, I saw that. Yes, thank you so much, Preeti. So now basically you call this update content for the new element, that is this content. So we create one function to read the value and update the object for title. We created one more function to read the value and create the content for this one, for the text area. So guys, similar, right, everyone? Understandable? Let's see if it is working. Let's open the console, create two nodes, and let's update one. So let's say grocery. Let's see if the second object is getting updated. Here we go, grocery. Now let's update the content and see if this content is also getting updated. That's also important. So let's say oil. And now let's see. Second object, here we go. Title grocery, content oil. Let's add one more. Like this. Hello. Let's see. Here we go. Title grocery, content oil, /n hello. That /n basically is for the enter that I given. The enter that I gave. All cool, guys? First part is done. Now we are able to create sticky notes and we are able to write values and we are able to store it in arrays. Now finally we have to learn how to store this array permanently somewhere, so that next time we come we have, like, at that time also we should have this array, and with the help of this array I should again able to generate new elements. Okay, so let's do that, guys. Let's do that, everyone. Okay, so now every time I update title, or like, see, every time I create a new node or update a title or update content, I simply want to store this array inside local storage. That's all. That is the permanent place. So let's do it now, guys. Let's do it. So basically this is what we'll do. Every time I create a new node, I want to perform this local storage dot set item, and I'm going to call it notes, and I'm going to store that array as a string there. So for that we're going to use a function called as json.stringify. This will convert my array nodes data into that. That's it. This is what I'm going to do. So every time I click on new node, I know that a new object is generated. I'm going to store that in local storage. Every time I update the title, I'm going to store the updated array in the local storage. See, because every time I'm updating the array, right? Whatever I do, I create a new node, I add a new object in the array. I update the title, I update the array. I update the content, I'm also updating the array. So every time I updating array, I also want to store that array in local storage. I also want to update the local storage every time. So now let me show you. So every time I am going to store that array in local storage. Is it cleared, everyone? Guys, so now let's confirm it if it is actually working. Let's confirm this. So inspect console, new node. Now new node, right? Let's check the local storage. So local storage dot get item notes. Let's see if I have it. See that? I have an array. Inside that there is an object with ID 1, title nothing, content nothing. Why? Because we have a sticky note here. If I add one more note, do this again. Now see, in the local storage there is an array permanently stored which has two objects. If I write some content like, let's say, grocery, okay, now I don't have a save button, but as soon as I write it, see, it has been actually updated. Can you see that? Actually, I don't need this save button anymore. It's auto save now. So I planned that I'll use this save button, but I'm not using it anymore. We made a technique that it is auto saving, like a real application. It is auto saving everything. Is it cleared, everyone? Guys, are we cleared? You can see it's actually updating in the local storage. So basically, every time I do anything, I update the array and I put it in the local storage. I update the array, I update. So when I create a new element, I update the local storage. When I update the title, I update the local storage. When I update the content, I update the local storage. But we need to delete them. Yes, I'll show you. Don't worry. I will show you how to delete that as well. That is the last thing that we'll do. Deleting is the last thing we'll do. Don't worry. Okay. So guys, all set till now? Now before that, I want to do this now. When I refresh, these things are going away. But in local storage, I still have that data. Why you have an put object inside array? Put object? Where do I have a put object? Preeti, I'm not understanding the question. Where is the put object? Can you please tell me? Okay. So see, guys, So when I refresh my page, the notes are gone, but in my local storage, I still have data. So now what I have to do is, when I refresh my page, I need to check my local storage. If my local storage is having some data, I need to generate notes based on that so that I can display the previous notes, because in local storage I'm storing the notes, right? So when I refresh, I need to check if there is some data in local storage. If there is not, fine, start with new. But if there is, please load that notes. Are you understanding the point, everyone? Guys, are you understanding the point? Please tell me. Why you haven't put object? Are you talking about this one? This push? Preeti? Are you talking about this push here? This is what we do, right? To add an object. So as soon as I add a note, I also add an object, right? Preeti. This is what we done, right? This is like, we did it, right? I think maybe half an hour back. So whenever I add a new note, as soon as that time, I also want to update an object. Is it cleared? Okay, focus, focus, everyone focus. Don't worry. 15 more minutes and we'll be done. Okay, so now guys, are you understanding the point? So now when I refresh, notes are gone, but in the local storage data is still there. So when I refresh, what I want to do is I need to check. Fine. Check if there is some data already in local storage. If not, fine, use a new array. If there is, load this data inside that array. So let's do that. So in the start only, I want to do this. See, so first I'll have a blank array like that. Now check in the start only if local storage dot get item notes gives you null, or maybe let's say if it is not equal to null, that means if it's there, what I want is I want this nodes data to get filled with that. So nodes data equals to, now whatever you get from local storage will be coming as a string. See, you had an array, you converted into a string, right? See, you had an array nodes data, you converted into a string so that you can store it in local storage. So basically your array is stored as a string in the local storage. So when you get that again, it will come as a string only. So you again need to convert that to a JS array. So for that, you have a function called as json.parse. So json.stringify is to convert JS objects or arrays into string. And json.parse is a function to convert string to JS objects or arrays. So json.parse local storage dot get item nodes. Only if it is there, otherwise no problem. So if it is there, I want this. Is it clear? And also now with the ID, initially ID will be 1 by default. Initially ID will be 1, but see guys, think now. Think. Now I want you to think. Use the 100% of your brain for this particular topic. Okay, I want you to understand this. Now see, initially ID is 1. But what if there is already some data in my local storage? Now if I have these two objects already in my local storage, so from where I want to start my new data? Can you please tell me? If I already have these two elements in my local storage, from which ID I want to start my new data? Whatever new I create, from which ID I want to start that? Can you please tell me, everyone? From which ID I want to start that, everyone? Can you please tell me? If I already have two data with ID1 and ID2, so the next element that I create, from which, just tell me the ID. No sir, we're not going to use index here. No. I want it to start from 3. No indexing. We are not following any indexing logic here. Indexing is wrong. If we use it, then I'll be unable to delete and add dynamic elements properly. So ID3, right? So now, how do you know that it's going to be 3? Because you saw whatever is the last element in the array, it's having 2. Whatever is the last element in the array, it is 2, right? So basically the next ID should be 3. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to check what is the last element of that array. Okay. So nodes data, how to check the last element? Nodes data of nodes data dot length length minus 1. This will give me the last element, right? Whatever is your length minus 1. So if your length is 5, minus 1 is 4. That is your last index. Are you getting my point? Okay, Bhimrao sir, I think you answered index in that way. Yep, that's fine then. That's correct. I'm so sorry for that. So now this nodes data. So basically now in this case, see, what is the length of this array? 1, 2. 2 is the length. So nodes data of nodes data dot length, that will give me 2 minus 1, that will give me 1, and 1 is the index of the second element. So whatever is the element on the last index, read the ID for that. So basically get me the ID for this, okay, and plus 1 to it, and that should be your new ID, generated ID. So that's what it is. That's all. So by default, nodes data should be blank, generated ID should be 1. Now, if you check the local storage and if you find it null, then this will not be executed. Simply move ahead and start with new. But if it is not null, then fill this array with the already stored elements and fill this generated ID, update this generated ID, which was initially 1, with the last element's ID, so that we can move ahead. Is it cleared, everyone? You got the technique? So if there is nothing, array will be blank, ID will be 1, and we'll start with normal. But if there is something in the local storage, what I want to do is, fine, check if it's something there. If it is there, put that array in nodes data, updated array, and also check what is the ID of the last element, add 1 to it, and that will be my new ID. So basically in this case, it will get this element, check its ID, that is 2, and plus 1 to it, it will give me 3, and that will be my new generated ID. All set, guys? All cleared? Please tell me, everyone. All cleared, guys? Everyone all cleared with this? Okay. Now also, when I fill this array, I also need to display it, right? Now when you find out there is something in the local storage, you also need to display it, right, everyone? When you find out there is something in the local storage, you find out there are 2 elements in the local storage, you also need to display them, right? By default. So when you refresh the page, you find out there are 2 elements in the local storage. There are 2 nodes basically, so I need to display them. So now when this array gets filled, you need to display them. So let's go ahead and let's display them. So create a function called as display existing nodes. And in this case, I'm simply going to use a very, very simple for each. That's all, nothing else. So let's go. So nodes data dot for each. Basically, loop through all the elements one by one. Okay. Now again, guys, same thing. A function here in which one time your note will be available. That means this whole object, one element. Okay. And on the second, the index will be available, which will not need, but still it's fine. Let it be there. And now what I want to do for every element, guys, simple. Now tell me, guys, this is what you use to create the elements, right? This whole logic, everyone, this is what you use to create an element, right, guys? This is what you used to create an element, right? So now simply copy this whole thing. Actually, not the whole thing. You don't need to create this plus thing, and you don't need to create this array pushing thing because it's already there in the array, right? So just copy these line of code. So basically this is what generating note means, right? Now I again want to generate note, but already existing note. So paste it here. Okay. And now just change the content. Just change the content. You already have a note. Fine. For every note, I want to create div. I want to give it a class of note, then input. But in this case now, I also want to give it a value, and ID will be not generated ID. Now ID will be note.id. See, we use generated ID when I'm creating a new one. Now I'm loading the existing one, which already has some ID. So I'm just passing that ID, note ID. Here also, note.id, already existing elements ID. That is basically this. Whatever ID is there, just pass that. So whatever elements you're creating, based on this array, based on these objects, just pass their ID for the ID. That's it. That's all. Okay. And also fill up the title, fill up the content. So let's do that. So all of this is fine, but now also fill the title with the value. So title dot value equals to note dot whatever is in the title. Same here, content dot value, whatever is in the content. Same thing. Anything else? No, right? All set. Yes, all set. That's it. That's all you want. So basically, so nodes data, what is the use of square brackets? It's array, right? See, nodes data is an array. See, Preeti, you tell me, if this is my array, and if I want to access the second element, what do? I do this, right? Whatever my array is, array of 1. Because the index of array starts from 0, right, Preeti? So this element is on 0th index. This element is on first index. So if I want to access this array, this element, it will be array of 1. If there is one more element after this and I want to access that, it will be array of 2. But the thing is, I don't know what will be the index of last element. Because sometimes array might have 3 elements, sometimes array might have 4 elements, sometimes array might have 5 elements. So I don't know what will be the index of last element. So how will I ever know what is the last element? So for that, see, this array is having 2 elements. What is the index of last element? 1, because 0 and 1. If this array had 3 elements, the index of last element will be 2. If the array's length was 5, that means if there were 5 elements, the last index will be 4. That's the logic. So that's what I did here to access the last element. Nodes data of nodes data dot length, that means whatever is the length of the array. So in this case, 2. This nodes data dot length will give me 2 minus 1, which will give me 1. So I'm simply accessing nodes data of, so this thing is simply giving me 1. That's all. So that's basically a technique. Let me just do this. Like, let's say let last index equals, let me do it like this. So this will calculate and give me 1 so that you are not confused. And let me put last index here. That's it. Okay. And see guys, so based on the array we are loading this element, right? We are loading 2 elements. So based on the array, I'm just performing a for each and I'm creating nodes based on the array and appending them. It's just when you generate a new one, you put a new ID and there is no value. When you're generating the old one, that means it already has some value and it already has ID. So give that ID and also settle up the value. So guys, are we cleared with this? Display existing nodes, and let's also call this initially. Display existing nodes. Whenever the page loads, call this function. So the same logic, but yeah, it is the existing node. That means I don't need to see guys, when you create a new node, you need to generate an ID because it's a new node. You need to you don't have any values because you're going to write it. But when you are loading already existing nodes, that means they might have value, they might have ID. So you also need to load them inside the fields. So directly I give ID, whatever ID was there, I give value, whatever value was there. Basically when I create a new one, I don't give value because that time it's going to be empty. I'm going to be writing in it. But when I'm loading an old one, it's going to have some value inside node.title and node.content. See, node.title is having grocery. So it is already having a value. So I just fill up the value. That's great, Bhimrao sir. Okay, so everyone else, have we understood this? Now should we try it? If it is loading this existing 2 nodes, should we try that, everyone? Guys, should we try that? Should we see if this is loading the existing nodes? Let's see. Everyone, come on. Give me yes, then I'll refresh. What do you feel? Will it load or there will be some error? What do you feel? Come on. Let's do a simple guessing game. What do you feel? Will it load or it will not load? Come on, tell me, guys. Yes? What do you feel? No, yes. Load or not load? Refresh. Let's go. Refresh. And not load. Amazing. Note has already been declared. Okay. See, my variable name is also note and my object name is also note. So that's a confusion. So let's call it, what should we call it? Let's call it note 1 for now. It's not a good name, but that's fine. The problem, see guys, see, I also thought that it will definitely, I was so confident it will load, but the problem was inside variable is also note and here we go. The object was also note. So let me just call it new. Yeah, new note. Let's give it new note. Or let's call it old note, right? Instead of new note, let's call it old note. It's like an old note. It's already there, right? So let's update this, guys. See, I was so confident. Very bad. Okay. So update it and any mistake, let me just confirm it. No. Now let's see. Let's go, guys. Refresh. Still some problem. No zero length is not a function. Okay, yep, I forgot. It's not a function, it's simply a property. It's not a function, guys. Refresh. Here we go. See, already grocery is here. And now it will completely work. So now see, if I update this, let's say learning, learning. And let's add me, let's say first I need to learn Angular, then I need to learn JavaScript, then I need to learn CSS. See, now if I refresh, after refresh also it's there. It is working like a proper app. Add a new note, refresh, everything is there. Add a content. Let's say, what should we call it? Let's add um, birthdays. So let's say some birthdays are coming. So I'm just saying, okay, fine. Sandeep's birthday is coming. Then let's say Bhimrao's birthday is coming. I put that and now refresh. Everything is there. It's auto save. It's just because of this local storage things that we have done in all the functions. It's getting automatically. That means now actually we don't even need this save button. And now it is actually working like a real app. We don't need that. Simple new note and all sorted. It's getting saved automatically like a real app. Is it cleared, guys? Everyone, are we cleared? Now one last thing remains here. Next 5 minutes and ended. What is the last thing, guys? What is the last thing? Tell me. We need to delete it. We need to delete it, right? If I don't want any note, I need to delete it. Okay. So let's go and let's create the functionality of deleting a note. Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it, guys. Let's do it. So to every node that I create, I need to create a button somewhere below, like a delete button or something like that. So let's add that button as well. We should add it to the right, right? We should add it here actually. We should add it here, right? So let's go and add it there. Let's go and add it there. No, save all. We don't have to worry about save all. Now everything is saving. See, no need to use save all. So let's add a delete button now. Last thing. So every time I create a note, I need, okay, bottom. Do you want me to put it in the bottom? On the bottom, right? Let's do it. Let's do it. So first, let's create it while creating elements. So it will be added in the note only. So let's create that element. It will be a simple button. Okay. So let delete equals document dot create element. Should we use icon here, guys? Should we use icon? Okay, no, let's not use icon. Let's use an image. What do you say? Okay, let's go and find delete PNG icon. Here we go. We have a lot of delete buttons here. Good delete buttons. So which one should we use? Let's use this one. What do you say? Will this one look good? Everyone? Guys, let's use this one. Yes, this one will look good. So save this image in our project. So it's on desktop, sticky notes, and let's store this somewhere. Yeah, here we go. It is stored. And let's go, guys. Let's go. Let's go. So create element. I want to create an element called image at the end. Okay. And what is the issue here? Variable declaration not allowed at this location. Why is that? Is it really serious? Strange. I think it was some. No, it is just. Am I doing a mistake somewhere? Okay, delete is a keyword in JavaScript. I forgot. Delete is a keyword in JavaScript. So let's call it delete btn. Yes, delete is a keyword in JavaScript. No, no, no. Delete is basically a keyword. Yes, yes, yes. So that's why we should not use delete. Let's call it delete btn. So delete btn, I'm creating img element. And then to that image, I want to give an src. And src will be, we already have it, this one. Okay, where have I saved it? Okay, maybe I stored it somewhere else. Let me see, guys. I maybe saved it somewhere else in some other folder, maybe. No, it's here only. Then why can't I see it here? Ah, it's here. Cool. Amazing. Let's go then. Let's go. Dot slash delete dot png. So this will add that element. And now let's simply append that to note as well. So note dot append child that delete btn. That's it. Let's see if it is working. Okay, now it will only work for new note. So we also need to add it while loading things, like here also delete button, and also yep, this line append the delete button. Let's see if it is getting added. Here we go. It's too big, right? We need to make it small. So let's go, guys. Let's give it a class. Or actually, there is only one image that we are using in the whole project, so no need to worry. Directly write CSS for image. That's fine. That is the only image that we are using in the whole project. So image width of 30 pixels. That's it. See that, everyone? Is it cleared? Cursor, pointer. A little more smaller, maybe like 20 pixel. Yes, like that. And now if I hover on it, so img hover, let's perform a transform scale of simply, let's say 1.2, and also add a transition so that it is a little slow. So transition of 0.3 seconds. That's it. Let's see it now. So here we go. See, guys, everyone, all set. So when I hover, it zooms. Now basically when I click on this, I need to delete this item, and if I delete the sticky note, I also need to delete it from the array. Are you understanding? Because for every note, yes, we can move it to the right. That's totally fine. We'll do it at the end. Not a problem. That's not a big thing, right? We'll move it at the end. But now, guys, understand the main point here. When I click on that, I want to remove this note. That's easy. That's not tough. But the problem is, I also have to remove what? The object in the array. Are you getting the point, everyone? Guys, understanding it, what I'm saying here? We also have to delete the object. So for that purpose only, we also need to give this attribute, data ID, so that image also has that ID. I want the image to also have this data ID attribute. So all the images will also have ID so that they can fetch the proper one. So all the images will also have the ID. Now see, all the images will have it. See, right click, inspect. See, everyone, data ID 1. See that? If I go on this image, inspect, data ID 2. If I click on this image, inspect, data ID 3. Is it cleared? So images are also having it. That means now with the help of images also, I can find out which element I want to delete because I have the ID. So guys, then let's create the function. Function delete note, something like that. Okay, now then, guys, let's move ahead. Final task of the day. Now again, guys, tell me. Now, okay, yes, let's call this function first of all. Let's call this function on the delete button. We forgot to call this, so let's go and apply this event. So delete button dot on click. What I want to perform, guys? I want to call this function delete note. Same, put it there. In here as well, everywhere. Okay. Let's confirm if this delete button is working. So let's just console.log this so that I can let me see if I'm getting the image. Sorry. Let's open the console. So now see that, everyone? Guys, see, proper ID images we are getting it right. Everyone understood the point, guys? Now we have the ID. With the help of that ID, I can easily remove any element. Right? With the help of the ID, I can easily remove the element from the array. And I also have to remove the element from here, this element. And I can also do that with the help of this image icon, actually, this image. So now let's do it. Now also let me just show you what will, see, now what if with the help of this image, I want to find this yellow element. I want to get the note element actually. With the help of this image element, I want to get the note element. Can I do that? Let me show you. If you perform this, this is giving you what? The image. So this is giving me the image element. If I perform this dot parent, see what it will give me. Undefined. Maybe I'm just doing, let me give it parent node. And here we go. Can you guys see that? It gives me the element. See, it gives me the, so now whatever delete button I'm clicking, it is giving me the responsive note element. Because see, who is the parent of this image, guys? Who is the parent of this image? This title, this text area, and this image are three children of the yellow element, the note element. So I'm just saying this, that is basically this image. When I click on that, call delete node, that this will give me the image. Give me its parent node. Give me the parent of that delete button. Who is the parent? It is the yellow element. So whatever delete button I click, I get the respective parent element. That's what I want. So first of all, let's go now. Let's extract ID. So let delete ID equals this dot get attribute data hyphen ID. And also we have to convert it into number. So number. Okay. Fine. If we delete the 2 note by 2 ID, then 3 will be 2. No, Lalit. No, ID will never change. But we don't have to worry about that, right? See, ID never changes. Like in a college, if you have roll number 24 for half an year, like half year, and if a person of roll number 23 goes, your roll number doesn't become 23. You still continue with 24. Just like that. That's why we have given ID. It's not indexed, then it will change. ID is unique to every element. So even if someone goes, doesn't matter. My ID is still same. It's intact. Is it clear, Lalit? That's the case. If ID number 2 is deleted, ID number 1 element, ID number 3 element will be there. No need to worry about that too. It's gone, fine. ID is still intact. That's why we are working based on IDs and not on indexes. Because if one element is removed from the array, index changes. Third element's index is 2. If I remove the second element, third element's index will become 1 because it is moving. That's why we have given IDs. No matter where they move, ID will still be same. Okay, that's why we have given IDs. So that's cool, guys. Let's go. So delete ID is here, and we also have the parent node. Now based on this delete ID, I need to delete the object inside the array. Should we do that, everyone? Based on the delete ID, I need to delete the object inside the array. So to delete any object, to delete any element from an array, you need to find out the index of it. You need to find out the index of it. So first, let's find out the element. First, let's find out the element. This is what we use, right, to find out the element, guys? This is what we use to find out the element with the help of the ID, right? Everyone? Nodes data.find. Find me the element where node ID matches my delete ID. So find me that element. But I don't want element in this case. Just give me the index of that element. So for that, guys, you have simply a function called as find index. That's all. Exactly works same, but instead of giving you the element, it gives you the index of that element. Now let me store it here. Let I, or let's call it let index. So find gives you the element of whatever you're trying to fetch. Find index gives you the index of that element. Cleared, everyone? And now finally what we're going to do is, based on this index, we're going to remove that element from that array. So now let's see how to do that. So basically it's very simple. Nodes data, there is a function called as splice, which helps you to remove elements from array. It has two parameters. From where you want to start removing the elements, from which index. Okay, I want to start removing it from this index, the index that I have. How many elements you want to remove from there? I only want to remove one element, and that's it. See, just like this, I'll show you. Let's say I have an array called A. Inside that I have three values, 45, comma 56, comma 78, comma 90. Okay, 4 values inside A. Now if I do A dot splice 1, this is where I want to start cutting. And how many elements you want to cut? Only 1. So it will cut 56 because I'm telling it start cutting from one index. That is, this is 0, this is 1. Start cutting from 56, but from that cut only 1. So it will only cut 56. And the remaining elements are still there. Let me print A and show you. See now, only 45, 78 and 90 are there. So mention the index You can also use splice to cut multiple elements at once, but I only want to cut one right now. So mention the index from where you want to cut and mention the number of elements you want to cut. If you mention only one element, that means only that index element will be cutted, deleted from that array. So here we go. Nodes data.splice, the index that I found for that particular element, and from there only one. So only the element that is on that index will be cutted out. That means now we are able to delete that particular element from the array. But now second job is to also remove this. Second job is to also remove this note here. Two things, right? Whenever I do something here, I update the array. So if I click on delete, I'm also updating the array. But I also have to remove this yellow element that is on the browser. So let's also do that. So for that, it's simple. You have got the parent node, right? So this dot parent node, that will give me the yellow element, dot function called as remove, and that's it. It will remove the element. And finally, update the local storage. And now let's see if it is working. So see guys, what do we do? When someone clicks on that red button of delete, we first get the ID that we have stored on that image using data ID. Then we find out the index for the element of that ID. And then we remove that element from the array. Then I remove this yellow element completely, and then I update the array. Now let's see if it is working. Save it, refresh, and let's say this is empty, grocery one, I'm going to delete it. Delete. Okay. Parent node. I just used this. How is it not a function? Oh, it was not a function. It was just a property. So sorry, guys. Okay. Now the problem is it is... Okay, cool. It is not deleted from the array as well because we got the error, right? Yep, still 3 elements. Yes, amazing. Now let's delete. Gone. See? That grocery is gone. Now refresh. I have only 2 elements. That's also gone from the array. So now I can add and I can delete. And refresh, it is still same. I can add, I can delete. I can add, refresh, it is still there. I can delete, refresh, and gone. Live updation of all the sticky notes. So that's, guys, that's basically it. That's what we wanted to create. And that's all. That's it. All set, all done. A personal sticky notes app which works perfectly fine. No problems at all. Saves everything. Everything is done. And one final thing that I didn't show you, that see, this is the text area, right? So it also has this resizable. If you want, you can, okay, it's not working. I think I have given it a width. Oh, yes, yes, yes. I have given it an auto, right? Let me show you guys. Let me just do this. One thing I forgot here. It is resizable, right? So one thing that you can do is, where is my text area? Where is my text area? Yes, content. Let me give it a width, guys. Width of, let's say, 300 pixel. If I give it a width of 300 pixel, and also now if I don't give this a width of 17%, okay, now I'm doing extra. I should not do this. Yep, I should not do this. No, fine. Leave it for now. Leave it for now, guys. Leave it for now. Doesn't matter. Everything is working. Sorted. One thing is, I just want to show you. See, guys, this. See this. This is a text area is resizable, right? This is a text area resizable. That means you can stretch it and resize it. That's something you should not allow the user to do. So for that, just go to that text areas class and just put resize none. And that option will be gone. See, now that option is gone. Now no one can resize. Now no one even knows that there is a text area here. Is it clear, everyone? So that's what you can do, and now it will work perfectly like a sticky notes app. You have your personal sticky notes app. All sorted. So guys, that's it. I hope you guys understood everything. Please let me know in the chat, everyone. You guys understood everything? Everyone, please tell me. Okay, that is great. That is really great. Okay, last question. Did you guys enjoy the session? Last question. Did you guys enjoy this stream of learning how to build a sticky notes app from scratch? If you think, guys, we actually made a sticky notes app from scratch, right? Yes, yes. So for all the guys who don't know a lot of HTML and CSS, you still have to practice. Okay, but for everyone who knows a little bit of HTML, CSS, and JS, you know, right? We have completed a really cool thing here. Create one video on CRUD app using database. Why not, Sumedh? Why not, buddy? Why not? Definitely. So I'll actually create a poll. I'll actually create a poll as a community option. So I'll ask what should I create next. So I'll give you 4 options. Okay, you guys can select one. Whatever gets the highest vote, I'll create that, and I'll definitely keep this CRUD operation in that. Yes, Preeti, go ahead, ask your doubt. And for everyone else, please, guys, if you're new here, please like and subscribe the stream so that it can reach more people and they can also learn. So for all the people who has not subscribed, kind request, if you can, please subscribe. If you have understood everything, if you like what I teach here, please subscribe, everyone. Okay, that's something that will help us grow and reach to more people so that everyone can learn. Okay, and also like the stream for a better reach. That's all. Yes, Preeti, go ahead, ask your doubt. I'm here. I'm waiting for your doubt. And also, guys, please share it to your friends, maximum people, so that they can also learn. Share with your friends who are learning in college, who are learning IT, who are learning CS, who are learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It might help them. It might help them understand how to create projects. Okay. Will the sessions be Saturday to Saturday? For the first 2 weeks, yes. After that, I'm planning it for 2 days in a week. So I'll let you know. So for that, videos you like, please go ahead and subscribe so that you can also get all the notifications when I create a stream. So for now, for today and maybe for next 2 weeks, it will be Saturday only. In next Saturday, I'm going to create something new project, some like a new project basically, something really cool again. So yes, and after that, I'm planning to stream twice a week. So yes, and I'm going to create a lot of cool things. And you also, guys, please keep suggesting me, okay, so that I can see what are your ideas and I can create that for you. And also, guys, please tell your friends and everyone, please share the channel so that they can also find it out, so that they can also get the understanding of everything. Share with all your friends who are in IT and CS field. Share with everyone. I will make sure that this channel also helps them grow their skill set and grow their logic abilities. Okay? Please make Java videos. Yes, Tumed, I'm planning that as well. I'll start making Java videos. We might have a Java fundamental someday. Okay? So that's it, guys. That's all, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you find something really useful. Please share it with your friends and family. And please subscribe and like the stream. And please, yeah, please subscribe the channel and like the stream. And that's it. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see all of you in the next stream. So now I'll put up something and you'll always get the reminder. So please subscribe so that if I plan for a new project, now in the next 2 days, I'll plan what project I should create next. And I'll put that as a, what do you say, as an upcoming stream so that you can find out. Please subscribe. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye, guys. Good night. I'll see you in the next stream. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye, guys.